welcome to another episode of Change Starts With You. I am Deborah Lawson, Director of Development here at United Way Emerald Coast. Today, I have got two amazing members of our community. I have Bernard Johnson, the Regional External Affairs Manager with FPL. Hello, Bernard.
Hello, Deborah.
Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. And Albert Sousa of Mortgage Apex. Albert is the owner and broker of Mortgage Apex, and both of these gentlemen are just really great advocates for our community with events or sponsorships, volunteerism, you name it, they're just jumping in. So we're super excited to have the partnership of Albert and Mortgage Apex and Bernard with FPL. So thank you so much for your time, for being here, and for all that you do for our community and United Way Emerald Coast. We're so thrilled to have you.
Honored to be here.
Well, thank you. So today we're talking about 40 Under 40. Now, for those of you that don't know, 40 Under 40 is an award that is issued by United Way Emerald Coast that really focuses on young professionals aged 21 to 40, obviously, that are really getting involved in the community, that are doing big things professionally, but also focusing on community involvement. And I'm going to go off script a little bit because we already said we were going to. We had a really intense application process. You know, Albert, you're a previous honoree, class of 2023.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Albert, you've been through the application process. What was it like for you?
It was interesting. I was taken aback because I wasn't expecting it. I just all of a sudden popped in my email and said, "Hey, you were nominated by a mysterious person, which I still don't know who it is today. They chose to remain anonymous, but I got that on my inbox, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So I started filling it out, and then got to see the process. And what really surprised me was that there's a lot of like contests, if you will,
Sure.
in this space, and I feel like a lot of them are kind of a glorified popularity contest.
Sure.
This really didn't feel like that at all because of the rigorous process that you go through to really filter and screen and make sure that the people in there are valid and should be there. And so it's not just based on votes, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So it really was honoring to know that, hey, I got recognized for that.
Yeah, absolutely you did. And, that selection committee consists of, community leaders. Bernard's been part of the selection committee for years.
We have about 5 here,
Yeah,
4 year
yeah,
40.
yeah, it's our
Beginning,
fourth.
yeah.
So we just did it a couple of weeks ago, and Bernard was here this year too, and just reviewing all those applications. It is, filling out the application itself is a process, but then reviewing them and trying to decide, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard.
Sorry, it's a lot of talent out there. I mean, when you look at the young folks that are coming up today, I mean, I was just one of the 200
Mhm.
folks that have been, received this award. And, just looking at the talent and the skill sets, what everybody brings to the table and what they're doing in their professions and how they're accelerating. I remember, starting out early in my career, how you come in at an entry level job, and then over years you progress up. And some of those folks are, doing that very same thing, starting early and then they're progressing up. And of course, they're probably, closer they are to 40, they're more likely mid-level. But it's just interesting to see. I would say a lion's share of those probably at 30 plus. But just to see when you get in that category of 30 to 39, what folks have done over their careers, not just in their careers, but, what they're doing in the community, what they're doing personally, what tough time that they had in their life that they're able to share about, what mentors and role models that they've had to help them progress through. So it's just been a real interesting learn to hear what the backstory, people's front story is.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said it that way. It's perfect. It's just nail on the head. What else can we say? Podcast is over. Just kidding. Just kidding. So, Bernard, FPL has been the presenting sponsor of the 40 Under 40 Awards for a few years now. So, can you tell us why this event is important to you and FPL?
Well, I will tell you that, my career with FPL, of course, former Gulf Power, has we've been in the region, been in the area here for 40 plus years, and I've been the power company coming up now on my 39th year. And to see, that we've been involved with United Way really since early in my career, probably I was at the 3 year mark. Then we started becoming really active. So we've been involved with United Way for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And just to see the United Way grow as an organization and to see how much has grown since Kelly has taken over. We've had great executive directors in the past, but Kelly just taken it to a whole nother level. And there's always a new program that you guys are doing, not just to support, the young professionals coming up, but also, the elderly, The VPK kids,
Mm.
you're looking at touches for the mid level, of high school kids. And like I said, it's just interesting to see the different nuances that go along with that. So that the 40 under 40, and I look at that more so because obviously in our career, you come across a lot of folks and you have a lot of engagements and work with a lot of organizations. And it's interesting to see folks as they start out their careers, what their next steps are going to be and how you may be able to mentor or help them. And, just the involvement in organization all to help grow the United Well, help grow the community is interesting in and of itself. So I would say that the significance of us being involved is just for those reasons. Us, there's folks that have come before me. There's folks that obviously we deal with on a regular basis, but we're not going to be here forever. And those that are coming up, I'm very confident and feel good about the folks that are young in their careers now, but that they're going to come up and eventually take over and do their thing. So they'll do their time on the vine, then they'll move on and do something else. But it's just good to see people kind of bubble up and have opportunities for engagement and learn from other people's careers.
Yeah. And FPL is a really big part of that, and seeing that, with the 40 under 40 awards and your contributions to that group of people like Albert and 199 others. As mentioned, it's our 5th year. There are 200 40 under 40 honorees this year. So that's super exciting. So yeah, I definitely think that FPL has absolutely poured into those young professionals in the community. And we're, again, just so thrilled to have the partnership of you and FPL. And so tell us about FPL's values or the mission and how it aligns with 40 under 40.
So I would, our ethics is we do the right thing, we treat others with respect. And we also make sure we do everything with excellence. And so those are the things that we kind of model. Those are our code of ethics that we live by.
Mhm.
And just kind of instilling that and making sure that we're obviously practicing those principles ourselves. But when you look at that as a set of principles and others, you want to applaud their efforts that they want to do the right thing. I think overall, generally, people want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes without saying. Particularly in business and a lot of jobs that I call fishbowl jobs, and you have a lot of eyes watching and in situations that that people are kind of wondering how you're going to respond and all.
Mhm.
And so I would say that living by those morals and ethics, help us going forward to make sure that, we keep those in our mind and kind of use those as our guiding stone. So,
Well said. Yeah. Good luck topping that, Albert.
I will do my best.
Excellent. So this question is actually going to be a little bit for both of you. So how do you two see community, business, and philanthropy working together to shape our region's future?
That's a good question. I see all of those being intertwined, and I think it depends on what um, industry you're in, but at least like where we're at in real estate and mortgage lending and all of that, those are extremely intertwined because just look at like our offices right in downtown Fort Walton Beach, and so seeing the change that has happened regionally in downtown Fort Walton Beach from the charities that are pouring in, like kind of reshaping that area, while at the same time helping businesses flourish. Like I think that what's the phrase that says like a tide raises all
Oh
ships?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's like that. I,
Uh,
I think that when you see different sectors flourish, like then you can come together and really win together as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, as far as, I mean, everything gets done with partnerships. And,
Mhm.
it takes partners because there's different facets that everybody can do to bring something to the table.
Mhm.
Of course, we're in the utility business. We got the mortgage business here. You got, cities and municipalities. You have the 501c3s that benefit, but 501c3s also give back. And so, but between those partnerships on, what is that you have that you can help with the issue,
Mhm.
and then remembering that because you always want to return a favor, and just look for an opportunity to work together as a community to kind of grow what we're doing. So we're all wanting to see growth, wanting to see positive things take forward, and so sometimes a little bit of a lift, but we get there.
Yeah. I think we do. I think that Albert makes a really good point, especially thinking about downtown Fort Walton Beach and seeing just the change in that community with all of the different business ventures that have come in, whether it is, utilities or real estate or even nonprofits. I think that that has definitely changed how our community works together. And I think that there's definitely a little bit more of a sense of partnership in the community than what may have been there before. I could be wrong, but I see that. Those are my thoughts, at least. And now, Albert, you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but let's talk about what makes 40 Under 40 special considered to other awards programs that are talking about young professionals.
Well, I'll probably throw some of this over back to Bernard because I would like to hear a little bit more about like what that selection process looks like into the nitty gritty of like reviewing everyone and figuring out what that is. But
Mhm.
I know that there is that process, and I put a lot of trust in the leaders in our community that are putting time into doing that selection process. But what it meant to me personally is a sense of recognition when sometimes the journey of entrepreneurship, or some people are solopreneurs, like they're just
Mhm.
one man show. It can be lonely at times, and it can be, you can also question yourself and say, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I being recognized? And, is all this work that I'm putting in getting out? Is am I getting a yield, or is something is are we moving the needle forward basically?
Sure.
And so I think every entrepreneur will ask themselves those questions. And so being able to know, like, hey, someone sees me and a group of people see me and what we're doing. And now I'm in this community of other 39 other folks that are walking the same walk that I'm walking. It feels good knowing that you're in a room with other people that are, sharing your experience.
Mhm. Nice. Nice.
I'll tell you, I admire entrepreneurs. I mean, it is a gift to be an entrepreneur. I
Mhm.
think because I remember reading something that Booker T. Washington said. He says, most people can get a job, but to be an individual that creates jobs for others, that's huge. Now I've been a corporate guy for, I said going on 40 years. And you know, it's just what I've done.
Mhm.
And, but to be an entrepreneur, I mean, you're basically having to go out and make sure you secure, what you're going to eat.
Yeah.
And you got to do your own honey. You got to, you got to be willing to, do the grind and put in the time. And there are a number of folks that, were applying for 40 under 40 that are entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And it's just not an easy lift. And, because particularly in the real estate market, we see it now could go up and down, the ebbs and tides, or whatever your business may be. There may be some other struggles and all,
Mhm.
but to persevere through and then come out the other side on top, that's fantastic. So that's awesome.
And I want to clarify, when I say entrepreneur, I don't necessarily mean like only someone who's in business for themselves.
Yeah,
Like, I think there's a lot of folks that are out there working in corporate positions that are going above and beyond,
yeah.
and
Mhm.
still walking that similar path, or they're,
Swimming in both
like,
lanes. Yeah,
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 exactly,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I will say that so kind of bouncing back to the selection process, this is my first year, working with United Way to do it. So I've had a different viewpoint of it. Last year I heard all about 40 under 40. I knew some of the people that were some of the honorees, and it was my very first United Way event as an employee. Um, but it's not something that you really think about whenever you hear 40 under 40. You don't think, oh my goodness, we're going to have to review 120 nominations, and then we're going to have to review another 70 something applications that are, intense, where we're asking people to share those personal journeys that they've gone through. you know there was a question this year about, is there personal struggle that you had to go through that may have affected your career? Basically asking, is there a reason why you are at a different place in your career? Because we at United Way and Roll Coast realized that not everybody has the same journey.
Mhm.
And there's value in those people that do have different journeys. So that was really interesting. We learned a lot about these honorees. They shared a lot of really personal information and trusted us with that. And so we take that to heart. And so we reached out to community leaders. We reached out to Bernard. We had Nico Stubblefield from Eglin Federal Credit Union. We've had several attorneys, chamber of commerce representatives. I feel like we had some elected officials this year too. And then also, previous honorees that have gone through, they've read these applications, so they know what it's like to have submitted that application. You're going to have a different perspective than someone that hasn't submitted that application and hasn't been through the process of it. And so it's really a process, and I mean it takes a few months. I think we first started talking about 40 under 40 back in February, and the events in September. So there's a lot
Oh
to
yeah.
it, and it is not just a popularity contest. It is really focused on when, and I think the thing that also sets it apart is we focus on community involvement too. Sure, you've got your professional development, you've got your leadership, but what are you doing in the community? What are you doing to make life a little bit better in the community? And so that's where those community leaders like Bernard and then the previous honorees like you, Albert, who have are involved in the community or jumping in, getting that perspective from them and their input on that is really important to us too. So those are my thoughts on why 40 under 40 is so amazing and special, but nobody's here to hear me talk. So, gentlemen, what impact do you see this recognition making on our community's young leaders?
But first,
Yeah, okay. Um, the impact that I see is there's a vote of confidence that happens. Um, there's probably some folks that are going to see that and say, hey, I got recognized here, and maybe raise their hand for the next opportunity that comes along if a job comes up at work or a promotion comes up at work. Um, where maybe before they'd be like, "Oh, should I get this, or am I the right guy or gal?" Maybe now they're more willing to raise their hand. So I think that's probably the impact on the short term,
Mhm.
and then on the long term, I really am a huge believer in networking and relationships. That's really what all my business has been built on.
Mm.
So I think really building that community of 40 under 40 folks with that class, making those connections and making every opportunity you get to make those connections at the events that lead up to 40 under 40, that's just a ripple effect and it's a compounding effect. One of the folks, Dustin Parkman, he is one class behind me,
Uh-huh.
which we've known each other, but we spent some time at the event last year honoring him and have stayed in touch. And now we're starting to do some business together. So it's really cool just seeing how those flourish. And then when you fast forward 5, 10, 15 years, it just compounds and compounds.
Absolutely.
that's exactly this. I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And I was, like I said earlier, in the '90s when we got involved with the United Way.
Mhm.
The matter of fact, 1990, and we went. Back then had United Way program and all, and so um, there was a class, probably about 25 or 30 of us in there. Going out and soliciting funds for United Way to businesses and all. And some of those relationships, you maintain them. I mean, because you're spending time, you're learning about United Way, learning about the process. You're, reporting back on what success you had with those organizations that you're able to, get to support United Way through monthly contributions. And so you just kind of engage some things in past and some things intentional. But some of those relationships I still have to this day. Now some folks have moved on and moved out and done other things. But to Albert's point, I mean, that's what it's all about. Is you're going to grow these relationships. You're going to 5 years down the road, it's going to look different than 10 years down the road. And it's good to see folks grow in themselves. Obviously, their families are going to grow and have some additions, and there'll be some other opportunities to spend some time. But just that whole networking and that whole partnership that you can't do this by yourself, and that you don't want to do it by yourself, but that you also want to secure the assistance and the relationship of others to help not just yourself be successful, but help them be successful. I mean, what is it that you're doing that's going to help them? What is that they're doing that's going to help you? And what other people you bring into your pod there. But I mean, it's just so many different avenues to go on that to, kind of continue to grow that. And that, just some things happen intentionally, some things happen granularly, but I think it's cool to continue to do that and be intentional about that.
Mhm. So Albert is hosting Headshots and Happy Hour for this year's 40 under 40 honorees. So Headshots and Happy Hour is a networking event for these honorees. They get a complimentary headshot, they get some snacks, there might be some beverages. And so we're super excited to have Albert jump in and volunteer to host Headshots and Happy Hour at Mortgage Apex this year. So thank you, Albert, for doing that.
My pleasure is an honor. And
Yes.
again, I'm all about the networking and building those relationships. So if we can help make that happen and help some folks, make some business connections, some personal connections, as we love that.
Yeah, it's like you guys knew exactly where I was gonna take the conversation because, we talked about that, and then you started talking about relationships and networking, and, hey, let's start talking
Yeah.
Yeah,
about
there you
this.
go. There you go.
So, yeah, so Headshots and Happy Hour, it's gonna be really fun, all these honorees this year are gonna be able to come together and just network and get to know each other. So, what excites you the most about creating that experience for the honorees?
It's building those memories, and it's removing friction from making friends. I,
Yeah.
I like to think about how we were as kids. When you make a friend, you just go up to the kid at the playground. You're like, "Hey, you want to be my friend?" And they're just like, "Yes," and you just go play. Whereas, as adults, we have like all our
Mm.
walls up, if you will, and we kind of can take ourselves really seriously. So, um, putting ourselves in a position where we're sharing that experience, we're all taking the photos together,
Mhm.
and we're coming together in a space that is going to be conducive for people making friends and making those introductions. I think it's huge. And so one is really having that memory of being able to go back and say, hey, this is where I met this person and how that relationship started.
Mhm.
But two, what excites me is that I can be a small part of that by helping offer our space, which I think our space happens to be like a fun, inviting environment that
Yes.
makes it a little easier to make friends.
Yes. Yes. It is a very fun and exciting environment. It's gonna be really, really fun to
Sounds
just
like an awesome
get
time.
all of those
Good
honorees
job, Alan.
together.
Good job.
So he's
I mean, that's just catching me out right there.
You heard it here. So we've talked about those things. So moving on to this year's celebration, it's September 18th, Shoreline Church in Destin. What are some of your favorite moments from previous years?
I would say, just well, of course, everybody's there for
Sure.
that reason. It's not
Mhm.
like, they're going to stand up and they're going to be, awarded at that time and say, oh, and who, me, So they're there. And so, but I still think that, to our point, just, having that brotherhood per se,
Yeah.
that, I made it, you made it. Or, I don't know. Well, I guess you would know by now because there's been a lot of publications about who actually all the awardees and all. But still, I mean, seeing everybody as opposed to just seeing them or listening on a name. And sometimes you may see some of those folks, I mean, oh, okay, I didn't know that was your name. Or, put names and faces. So that happens. But I think just the fact that, they're there and they're there with their family and their family, having the opportunity to receive a award of that significance in front of your family is pretty cool.
Mhm.
In front of your peers. I mean, it's always good to receive an award that size in front of your peers. I mean, it's just,
Sure.
it's an established thing. And the application process is very it's very intense. Like I said, that nuance this year about something personal was pretty interesting. So when you read through those, it's like, man, the things that some people have been through in their personal life or their professional career has been pretty interesting to read.
Mhm.
And some have persevered through. And some of them, maybe hit another hiccup along the way, but now they are where they're at now and persevere through. Some of the applications we had, some of them were a little thin. So I would encourage, those that, do want to apply next year
Mhm.
to, put some good heart into it, some good thought into it, and make them impactful
Yeah.
because it's not that you just want to turn in something with a bunch of words, but the competition is just so high. I mean, we just had 120 applicants this year,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you got it, throttled down to 40.
Oof.
And so we had a section of applications, and then another group had a section of applications. Then we come back and talk through those applicants and all, and then the finalists are determined over another process and all. But it's just really, really rigorous is not the right word, but I mean, is very, very, yeah, very thorough, very, very engaging, and not that the best story wins. It's just what meets all the qualification factors. So it's not just one or two things, but this overall. And so I was talking to a couple of folks and like, man, I've been trying for 2 years or 3 years, haven't gotten in yet, and I'll be 40. So they want to make sure they want to get in. I'm like, I got 2 years to get in, or I got 1 year to get in. And I had one gentleman last year said, "Man, this is my third time. This is my last time of getting in." And he fortunately, worked out for him. So
Yeah.
there is that what we call positive peer pressure out there too. That you want to make sure that you're representing yourself well and you have that level of success.
Yeah. Yeah. absolutely.
So
Albert, what's one of your favorite memories?
My favorite memory is overall just being able to receive an award in person.
Yeah.
If that sounds a little weird, most awards I think
Yeah.
are like online or social media, but to be able to say like this is a night to celebrate these folks
Mhm.
in person, like let's stand up,
Mhm.
applaud them. I don't think probably most of the people on that stage have had anything like that since probably they graduated college or high school. It's
Sure.
just it's pretty rare you get to just be celebrated like that in person with a cool award with an awesome night. It's you guys really do it right and make us feel special. So
they do,
We
they
too.
do, they do. It's a great job.
Okay, so last question. What does leadership mean to you personally?
I'll take this one first.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm a new father, so I've got a 9-month-old baby. Thank you. Not that
Congratulations.
new,
Well,
but 9 months.
It's new.
But
It's
thank
new.
you, thank you.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
So I've had to think about this a lot more as I'm leading my son,
Mhm.
and I think leadership now has changed to really being about caring and influence. And so I filter that out to my team as well.
Mhm.
Is like I want to care about you and I want to influence you to be the best that you can be. And then the third piece of that is my son's too young for it now, but is really listening to their concerns as well.
Mhm.
So it's not just me influencing them, but them influencing me when they say, "Hey, I think we have this problem. Like maybe we should dig into it," and then me being able to stop and listen. Easier said than done, but I think that's what a great leadership or what a great leader is, in my opinion, is someone who can listen but also deeply care and then rise their people.
That's perfect. That's so good. Now, how are you going to beat that?
I'm not going to be. He's got a nail. I was just add to it, being an example,
Mhm.
because everybody's looking for some type of role model or somebody. And I remember seeing this book on my dad's shelf when I lived at the house. It had the title on it was "Be a Leader People Follow," and I never picked that book up. I just remember the title. I'd walk past it every day, multiple times throughout the course of the day, and I'd look over there, and I finally picked it up, in my latter years. I think we were about to leave. I was about to move out of the house, and I finally picked it up and looked at it. I'm like, man, but it has a lot of principles on leadership and on style and being that leader that people follow. Because you could be a bad leader and people will still follow you because they don't necessarily have good intentions. But if you're that individual that wants to be that example, be that role model, has good principles, has good standards, then people don't mind following that. I think that the way you treat people, the way you talk with people, the way your whole communication doesn't always have to be verbal. Your communication could also be the way you pay attention to somebody when they're talking or saying something. All kind of methods of communication take place, and so just making sure that you're paying people the respect and the time that you know you'd like to receive back. Being that role model, and just wanted to enjoy life. And one simple saying was that if you want people to like people. Just like people.
Mhm.
And then once you do that, then people will like you. But if you're going around, trying to, do the opposite, it's not gonna, not gonna fare well. But just like people, and then people will like you.
I love that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You didn't think you were leaving with life wisdom, did you?
Oh, I did think I was.
Oh, well, listen, I'm one learning.
Yeah.
Darn, it's gonna happen.
Well, I look at life's like you eat the meat and throw away the bones.
Yeah.
No matter what you hear, no matter where you go, could be in the best situation, you're always going to learn something about something. There's going to be some bones over there. You want to throw those away, but there's always a piece of meat that you can learn from something. And so I just, try to look at each day like that. And what is it that, I learned today that I didn't know yesterday and can not probably write some of these things down. So I always say I'm going to write them down. I don't. So I'm not, but yeah, just kind of being mindful and just, being intentional about your days.
Well, the good news is you don't have to write anything down. We've recorded it.
I care about the podcast all the time. Okay. Okay.
The even better news is that I've decided that I'm going to decorate my office in Bernard Johnson quotes. So it's gonna be wonderful. Can't wait
Oh
for you
man.
to see it.
Oh man. We're in trouble.
Albert said he's doing it next.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm quoting Albert. I'm quoting Albert.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and all that you do for our community and the young professionals in it. We're so excited to have your support and your partnership. And I know that this year's class of 40 under 40 honorees is going to be a really amazing. I can't wait for you to meet them
Awesome.
and to hand them their awards this year, as you do every year. We're so thankful to have you on that stage. So that wraps up this episode of Change Starts With You. We will see you guys at the 40 Under 40 Awards, September 18th, Shoreline Church. Thank you so much.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.